From the East Texas Sports Network studios, powered by Texas Dairy Queen, a tradition of excellence, the ETSN podcast, where Clint Buckley and Mike Graham offer their, well, they just talk. But who really cares? It's what they do best. It's the lowdown on everything high school football in East Texas. And now, Clint Buckley and Mike Graham.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the ETSN.fm podcast. I'm Clint Buckley, and I'm joined, as always, by Mike Graham. What's up, Mike?
Hey, week 13. Let's get it going.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. We're already into the playoffs. Thanksgiving is next week, and it's the goal of all these teams across the state of Texas to be playing into Thanksgiving, and the opportunity is out in front of them this week, and we've got a lot of teams still alive. I believe I counted we have 31 games this week involving East Texas teams, so we still have a lot on our plate here at ETSN.fm, and we are previewing all the action. We're getting closer to the state championship week in just a few weeks, and
no more fluky teams in the playoffs. Everyone's got a chance at this point here in the second round.
Yep, and we had a few first round surprises, and we'll talk about those, and we'll also look ahead to some of the bigger games this week. But first things first, Van losing to Paris. You were at that game, and Van had gone undefeated. They were 10-0. They had pretty much blown out everybody they played during the season. You and I both felt like they had a pretty easy path to the regional final because Kennedale and Argyle were on the other end of the bracket. Mm-hmm. But I guess turnovers just did them in the other night?
Yeah. When you throw 3 interceptions and give up a fumble, you better score on the remainder of your drives. And Paris had the lead, a 2-possession lead at one point in the second half. Van comes back and takes the lead with about 6 minutes left in the game. But when they needed that defensive stop, Quez Allen, who's a player I think we're going to be hearing about for the next few years in this region, he's a Paris player. Their quarterback runs in a late score, and Van throws an interception, and their season ends right there. So that was tough to see. They were a pretty good football team, and it's disappointing to not be able to see how they stack up against an Argyle or Kennedale or maybe even Athens.
Right.
We'll get into that a little bit later.
And the thing about it is it's hard not to feel for Van because these last 2 years they've had good seasons, but they were unfortunate enough to be aligned right next to the quote unquote District of Doom. And, having to play a team from that district right out of the gate in the first round. We thought this time, this year, they get a bit of a break. They're not even in the same region as some of those teams. Mm-hmm. And, wasn't expecting that. That was probably the biggest surprise of the first round.
Yeah, and they're going to take some massive graduation losses. They have taken some massive graduation losses now. You've got Bryce Borgeson at defensive end. You've got a really good linebacker and Hunter Redmond, who led East Texas in tackles. They're a good receiving core, a good quarterback. One of your 2 primary running backs is gone. So
the offensive line too, with Wyatt Santos.
Yeah, they're wiped out. So it'll be really interesting to see how they respond next season.
Another team that's gone that we figured would maybe stick around a while. Even though we kind of thought this game may have been a little bit of a toss up, we're still kind of surprised the way that Nacogdoches went out against Marshall last week, 67-42. I know that game was a little bit closer than the final score indicates, but we talked all season long about their defense. And the big question we thought going in was their offense going to be able to keep up with the defense? And the offense did just fine. They had a great year. Coronado Tolbert, fantastic season on the ground. Hunter McClellan put up big numbers at quarterback, and then
he had 421 yards in this game.
Yeah, I mean, and the receiving core came through. They had some great moments on offense this year, and boy, their defense just let them down. 67 points. I know Marshall has the potential to be really explosive on offense, but it's I guess it's disappointing to see them go out that way, and I'm a little bit surprised that we're not going to see Nac anymore in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the big thing in that game was Nacogdoches started kicking onside kicks early, so they're giving up a short field to Marshall. Marshall recovered all the onside kicks, and that's what really allowed them to run away with this game. Good news is they've got Brandon Jones, who picked up an offer from Miami yesterday.
He's
32nd, and then Corey Lane, who's got a Louisiana Tech offer, will be back. So it's always good when your safeties are college caliber players. You can kind of keep everything out in front of you.
Right.
So we'll see next season with Nacogdoches.
Another team that we were kind of surprised to see exit early was Malakoff. That they were undefeated for most of the year. Then they run into Teague during district play. They lose that one. And this is, I don't want to say that it was like a choke job or anything like that, because Buna, the team that they played, is good. I mean, they were 9-1. In fact, 3 of the 4 teams out of that district that qualified for the playoffs, District 12, were 9-1.
Yeah.
I mean, Buna was 9-1, East Chambers 9-1, Kirbyville 9-1, and of course they all 3 won. Teague was the only team from District 11, Malakoff's district, to win in the playoffs. But surprise, 34-24. Malakoff goes down last Friday night in Carthage. This is a team that I thought had a chance to go a little ways in the playoffs. I mean, they made it to the 3rd round a year ago. They had a ton of experience back, and you saw them firsthand against Teague, a few weeks back. But Malakoff's gone, and that's a big surprise.
Yeah, and it's a big loss for East Texas. I'm guessing that turnovers had a major impact in that game.
And like I said, I mean, the team that they were playing is no slouch. I mean, obviously, you win 9 games during the regular season, you're doing something right. So it was just an unfortunate set of circumstances with Malakoff having to go up against a really tough foe in the first round.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
On to this week's action, and there are some East Texas teams that are facing some daunting challenges this week. Severe underdogs this week, and I guess we'll start right off the bat. We referenced them just a second ago, but the Athens Hornets have a tough task in front of them. They're going up against, I believe, 4th-ranked Kennedale, undefeated Kennedale this weekend. You did a preview on this, and it's up on our website already. What kind of things can we expect from this game, and does Athens have a fighter's chance?
Yeah, their chances are a lot better than Lloyd Christmas's with Mary Swan. So I think that Athens, this is a winnable game for them if they perform offensively. Both teams love to run. They pretty much have the same exact offensive numbers. Neither team has passed for more than 450 yards. They both rushed for 4,500 yards. So it's a running game. I mean, I think defenses need to concede that they're going to be giving up yardage on the ground. And at that point, it comes to you're going to be burning clock while you're running. And you're going to have to score on the possessions you get, because you might only get 6 or 7 in the whole game. So you really need to capitalize on your possessions. And one turnover, that could really be the difference in this game, more so than others, because both teams are going to be burning a lot of time going up and down the field against each other. Yeah,
and I think an X factor in this game could be someone like Trayvon Fuller, because I doubt Kennedale has anybody of his caliber, athletically speaking. This is a guy that's had a huge impact in all facets of the game this year: offense, defense, special teams. Somebody like him could make a big difference in this one.
Yeah, I'm not banking on an interception from him. He has 7 this year, but if he can force a fumble, that would be huge. That's I mean, again, one turnover, I think, could be the big difference in this game. I think that Athens' chance is pretty good, to be honest. Not that they're favored, but I don't think that if they won, that'd be a major, major upset, considering how the two teams play.
Right, maybe to others in the state, it might be a bit of an upset, but Athens has played well. I mean, their losses this year have been quality losses. I mean, they lost to Henderson, and Henderson's still alive in the playoffs. Lost to Van.
Hallsville.
Yeah, lost to Hallsville, that was right there on the doorstep of making the playoffs. And then Van, weren't they ahead for most of that game?
Yeah.
Did Van have to come back and rally late to win it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Athens, they have a chance. I wouldn't bet on them, and of course, we're not condoning betting on high school athletics. But I think most people expect Kennedale to win. I expect them to win, but again, like you said, wouldn't be 100% shocked if Athens were able to pull the upset.
Yeah, especially again, the styles of play. Anything could happen in this game.
Yeah, well, the biggest underdog, I think, this week, it has to be Chapel Hill, right? I mean, they're going up against the number 1 ranked team in the state in Class 4A, Navasota. Navasota won state 2 years ago, and they have a history with East Texas. Chapel Hill has played them in 2010 and 2011. And Chapel Hill was able to win both of those games. The second one was really competitive. I believe Navasota had a lead in the fourth quarter, and Chapel Hill had to kind of fight them off. And then we mentioned Navasota state championship season the next year, 2012, just steamrolled Gilmer. in the final, I think 39-3. And I remember walking away from that game thinking, okay, this is the best 3A team I've ever seen, at least the best 3A defense, because they were in the backfield the entire game. Jordan Wells, their good defensive tackle who graduated last year, was the defensive MVP in the game, and probably, had we voted on an overall MVP, he probably would have won that too. But it's an entirely different cast of characters this time around for Navasota. They've got tons of playmakers, and a lot of them are juniors. So this could just be the beginning for Navasota. And Chapel Hill, their offense blew the doors off of Huffman Hargrave last week. I mean, they scored 57 points, put up over 630 yards of offense, got a huge performance from their quarterback Connor Hitchcock. Threw for 336 yards and 4 touchdowns. They ran the ball for almost 300 yards. It was a really quality performance from Chapel Hill offensively. They're going to need more of the same against Navasota this week. And one thing you got to keep an eye on is Chapel Hill's defense. I mean, that's been their Achilles heel all season long. Even though they looked great last week on offense, their defense gave up 43 points, gave up over 500 yards. It was not a clean performance by the defense by any means, but at the same time, they were able to force 5 turnovers. And that could be something that they can hang their hat on this week against Navasota to kind of stay in that game. But
one more thing on Chapel Hill. It just looks to me like their trajectory this season has been positive the whole way through the year.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of young players, too. We talk about Navasota's junior class. Chapel Hill has a good junior class. I mean, their quarterback's a junior. They're one of their good running backs, Braylon Franklin, is a junior. Reggie King is a junior. DeAndre Phillips, a lot of impact players will be coming back for Chapel Hill next year, and this is a big test for them against Navasota. I mean, Navasota loses to Carthage, I believe, in this round last year. Carthage destroyed them, and so there is a history between East Texas and Navasota on the positive side and the negative side as far as East Texas goes, and it'll be interesting to see, how Chapel Hill fares against Navasota, because obviously this will be the best team they've played this year, and they're going to need, their best game of the year in order to pull off an upset. And that brings us to the final game in which we feel like the East Texas team comes in as an underdog, and that's same bracket. It's Carthage and El Campo, and these two teams have history. Just a couple of years ago, in 2012, these two teams met in the state semifinals, and Carthage was a huge favorite. Everybody in the state was picking Carthage to win, and El Campo pulls the shocker.
They got rice bird.
Yeah, 29-25. I'm not exactly sure what a rice bird is. Somebody's going to have to explain that to me at a later time. But El Campo, what they love to do is they love to run the football. Their quarterback has only thrown for like 300 yards this year. They have a really good fullback named Kevin Dove, who's over 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. They have a good tailback. Who's right on the doorstep of 1,000 yards. It's going to be a challenge for Carthage, but I will say this: having seen them last week and actually seen them the last 2 weeks, their defense is really playing well right now. They shut out Little Cypress Mauriceville last Saturday night, 10-0. It was Carthage's first playoff shutout since 2010, and they did a number on LCM's rushing attack. I mean, their running back came in with more than 1,200 yards on the season, held them to 27 yards on 20 carries. So Carthage is playing well defensively, and that's going to need to continue this week against an El Campo team that's averaging over 40 points, averaging close to 350 rushing yards a game. And El Campo really hasn't been tested. They have one loss, and it came to Wharton way back in September, and that's kind of a rivalry game, 28-24. So you know how those go. Those can go either way, no matter how good or how bad the two teams are that are involved. But ever since then, El Campo's been rolling. They handed West Columbia their only loss of the season in the regular season finale. Beat them pretty bad too. I think 48-20. So they're rolling right now. And the key, like I said, is going to be how Carthage's run defense matches up against El Campo, because Carthage's offense has struggled. I feel like the last couple of weeks. They started playing a lot better once district play began. And then the regular season finale against Chapel Hill, while they did come on late to kind of put that game away, the quarterback, Blissett, threw a couple of interceptions, wasn't very accurate that night. And then obviously they had their problems last week with only 10 points. Not 300 yards. I don't think they reached 300 yards in that one. So it's going to be a challenge for Carthage's offense to put together enough points to hang with Ocampo.
Yeah, turnovers I think would be big for the Carthage cause, and you've got to get a good performance out of Jared Blisson. I think he's capable of that. Big arm, really like him. I think that at the end of the day he'll be a college prospect, as he's only a junior right now.
Yeah, so some other big games we'll go over real quick this week. Longview against Mansfield Lake Ridge. I'll be at this one Saturday in Tyler. Longview, how about last week's game? 43-42 over Lufkin. They go for 2 with 31 seconds left, I believe, to get the job done. They were down 28-0 in the first half.
Yeah,
and Longview just controlled the action from there on out, and it was a really impressive performance. One of the best games I've ever covered, to be honest. But
well, you were at that one. I was at Tyler Lee Midway.
Exactly. Well, somebody had to do it.
Yeah.
So, and that somebody was you. So, it was a great game, and the challenge for Longview is to kind of put that in the rearview mirror, get past it. I know it was an emotional win, playing a rival like Lufkin, winning the way they did, but they have to go back to the drawing board because they have a new opponent this week, and that's Mansfield Lake Ridge. The record's not great; they're 7-4, but they're coming off a really impressive first round performance against Dallas Kimball, and won that one 42-17. So Longview's going to have to be ready to play. It's not going to be a pushover. Of course, none of these games are going to be pushovers anymore. I mean, we're 2 rounds deep into the playoffs now. Everybody's going to have to come with it, or they're going to be breaking out the basketballs.
Yeah, 5AD1 Region 2 especially is very wide open.
Yeah, and we talk about we'll stick in that same bracket, John Tyler and Mansfield Summit, a game that you'll be at Friday night in Rockwall. John Tyler looked kind of pedestrian for the first half or so against Texas High. It was, I think, 17-10 at halftime or something like that.
Yeah, they really did. Had to come from behind and win the game, and they throttled them. And we're going to be talking about him a little bit later, but Jordan Owens, a safety for John Tyler, had a great game. And Summit they're a pretty balanced team. They remind me a lot of Nacogdoches, only they run out of the pistol formation with their running back, Derek Johnson. I think that if John Tyler's front 7 has a good night, then the Lions are going to have a good night. And
they've had several good nights this year,
yeah,
John Tyler's front 7.
Nacogdoches was a team that really performed well when they could get Coronado Tolbert rolling. And in the John Tyler game, Nacogdoches John Tyler game, held them to 20 yards, and I think they won the game 44-14. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think that Summit is a lot like NAC. I think those games compare really nicely to each other.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I think both Longview and John Tyler are considered favorites this week. Should be able to advance. They're
on a crash course for.
They are. If they keep winning in a couple weeks, they'll be meeting. How fun would that be?
Yeah, another rematch for Longview.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that'd be on their redemption tour. So those are 2 games to keep an eye on. Also, in 4A Division II, we got Gladewater going up against the reigning state finalists, the Fairfield Eagles. Not sure how they got this to work out, but they're playing in Longview, which is in Gladewater's backyard Friday night. Gladewater's rolling. I saw them Thursday against a clearly overmatched Nevada community team, but nonetheless, Gladewater scores like 29 points in less than 2 minutes. The game's 52-0 at halftime. Much to my dismay, there was no running clock in the second half. But Gladewater looks good. And what was really impressive about last week's performance is they didn't have the services of their top 2 rushers. James Reese was out of action. He had a family situation to deal with, and then Justice Centers had a little banged up shoulder. And I talked to Coach Barry a little bit last week, and he expects both of them to be back in the lineup this week. So. It's all hands on deck for Gladewater, and Fairfield, not the same team that we saw last year. Almost beat Argyle in the state championship game. No Larry Rose, their talented running back that eclipsed 3,000 yards last year. Their quarterback's gone, so it's a completely different makeup for Fairfield. But I think Gladewater wins as long as they don't get to thinking about next week too much, because we all know what happens next week if each team takes care of business. We get Gladewater versus Gilmer, and that's going to be one of the highlights of the football season if indeed that takes place.
Yeah, you want to call it the East Texas Super Bowl?
And I tell you what, unless John Tyler and Longview top that, a couple of weeks down the road, I mean, Gladewater and Gilmer, I mean, that's greatness.
Yeah, you know what? Just being honest with you, I think that Gladewater and Gilmer could compete pretty well in Longview and John Tyler's bracket too. Those are really stacked, solid teams with lots of Division I talent on them.
Yeah, depth could be an issue, obviously because of the numbers. But you talk starting 22 and starting 22, there's not that much difference. But Gladewater and Fairfield ought to be a good one. Again, that's 7:30 Friday at Lobo Stadium in Longview. And then the last one we want to talk about is a big private school battle. TAPS, they're already into the state quarterfinals. Just 3 more wins and you're a state champion. And one of our 2 teams in our area is going to get one step closer. That's because Bishop Gorman is going to be playing Brook Hill Saturday afternoon/evening over in West Rusk, and you'll be there. You're looking forward to this, right?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Getting to see Brook Hill the first time in a game with Grace, I really enjoyed it. I really like their style. I'm excited to see Gorman, too, because Michael Goodwin's been on a tear this season. He's East Texas' leading passer with, I think, nearing 3,000 passing yards.
And he can run a little bit, too.
Yeah, he broke the leaderboard this week with 1,000 rushing yards on the nose. So, Gorman's in good position. Brook Hill enters this game a little bit injury crippled. They lost Seth Brazier, their star receiver. They lost their star running back, Gabe Lucio. So they're dealing with some backups. Fortunately, they've got Chase McDermott as a receiver, and Chris McCune has stepped in.
Still got their quarterback, too.
Yeah, they still got Grant Hanks, and he's got 2,400 yards. So they're okay. They're in good position for this game. Brook Hill won the regular season meeting 38-20. I think this game's going to be a little bit closer because of the attrition that Brook Hill suffered. Too close to call a winner.
Well, we want to give congratulations out to one of our area football players who decided to make his commitment known earlier this week, and that's Lufkin offensive lineman Eric McCoy, who decided to go to Texas A&M. Boy, the Aggies, they're bringing in a haul in the 2015 class, especially in East Texas. I mean, you've got Justin Dunning from White House, Larry Pryor from Sulphur Springs, Dalen Mack from Gladewater, and now you add Eric McCoy, one of our area's best linemen, to the mix, and A&M's looking pretty good as far as East Texas is concerned.
Yeah, they have 5, took the lead again over North Texas. Obviously, they're looking for 2 different kinds of athletes, and McCoy, I think, can really help them because when you're looking at offensive line, especially on the high school level that you're trying to recruit, it's all about the frame, and McCoy certainly has the frame. What 6'4", 297,
and I believe they're gonna try to work him in at center.
Yeah,
at A&M,
perfect size, and really good kid, really nice guy, great player. Really excited to see him get this opportunity, and he committed pretty much immediately after he got this offer.
Yeah,
so
I believe he got the offer Saturday, committed that night, and then made it public the next day.
Yeah, I think this was something he was probably waiting on.
Yeah, so congratulations to Eric. Now we want to send more congratulations out to our offensive and defensive players of the week, and first off is our offensive player, and that's Mineola quarterback Jeremiah Crawford. I was intrigued by him coming into the season. I mean, he's not very big, but I saw the numbers he put up last year as a freshman, and knowing that he got that experience under his belt coming into his sophomore year, and you look at the role Mineola's on. I mean, they won 8 in a row. They started the year 0-3. They're 8-3 now. They're coming off a big playoff win. And speaking of that playoff win, Crawford had a big role in that one. 262 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns from the quarterback position, and he added 131 yards passing and another touchdown. So he combines for almost 400 total yards and accounts for 6 touchdowns as Mineola defeats Prairie Land 52-14. Congratulations to Jeremiah Crawford.
Yeah, and the ETSN and Dairy Queen Defensive Player of the Week was John Tyler's Jordan Owens, who we referenced to early in the show. He had 2 interceptions, including a pick 6, and he had a fumble recovery in John Tyler's 58-23 win against Texas High.
Kind of ignited that second half barrage that John Tyler put on Texas High. I mean, because that was a close game, and then all of a sudden you look up and JT's up by 3 touchdowns.
You could say that he aided the game with a 28-point swing to the touchdown he scored to the one he took away, and then 2 more potential scoring possessions he took away. That's huge. Great job, Jordan.
All right, so once again, congratulations to Mineola's Jeremiah Crawford and John Tyler's Jordan Owens, our ETSN and .fm Dairy Queen Offensive and Defensive Players of the Week. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We want to send a shout-out also to the White Oak volleyball team, which is playing at the state tournament this weekend in Garland. Their semifinal match is at 3 o'clock on Thursday in Garland against Brock. If they win, they'll play for the state championship on Saturday. So good luck to the Lady Necks in White Oak. Also, the boys basketball season has begun. So now girls and boys basketball, we're at full swing now. And we'll be following the basketball season all the way until the state tournament, which is going to be in San Antonio this year at the Alamo Dome.
I'm looking forward to San Antonio.
So that's something to look forward to. And then also, as we mentioned earlier, we have previews up on our games, our football games this week. We're highlighting some of the biggest ones in the area. So check those out. And if you have any questions, comments, or complaints, we welcome everything. The best way to get in touch with us is via Twitter, and my handle is @ClintBuckley.
And I'm Mike_ETSN, but hate mail goes to Clint Buckley at ETSN.
Sure, whatever you say, Mike. I'll take everything. I'll jump on that grenade, and I'll answer all the questions. So, like I said, a great time of the year right now. We got 3 sports going on: football, basketball, volleyball. The football playoffs are in full swing. The volleyball playoffs are winding down. The basketball season has just begun. Lots of good stuff happening in East Texas and at ETSN.fm. So until we speak again next week, y'all enjoy this weekend of high school football, and we'll talk to y'all again next week.